In the winter of 1938, a fishing trawler pulled into the harbor of East London, South Africa, with a haul that looked like any other day's work. But as the captain, Hendrik Goosen, began sorting through the piles of edible fish, he noticed something tucked away in the corner of the net that looked like it had been dragged straight out of a nightmare or a prehistoric fever dream. It was a 5-foot-long creature covered in heavy armor-like scales, with 4 strange fleshy fins that looked more like legs than anything meant for swimming. The fish was a shimmering iridescent blue, and despite being pulled from the crushing depths of the Indian Ocean, it was still gasping for air. This was the coelacanth, a creature that the entire scientific community agreed had disappeared from the face of the Earth 66 million years ago, roughly the same time a giant asteroid took out the dinosaurs. Its discovery didn't just rattle the cages of biology, it essentially blew the doors off our understanding of the fossil record and proved that the deep ocean is hiding secrets that are far older than the mountains we walk on. Today, we are diving into the unbelievable story of the living fossil that refused to stay in the history books, and what its sudden reappearance tells us about the mysteries still waiting in the abyss. To understand why the coelacanth is such a big deal, you have to realize that for nearly a century, it was the poster child for extinction. Paleontologists had found thousands of fossils of these creatures in rock layers dating back 400 million years. They were everywhere in the ancient seas, and they were considered a crucial missing link between fish and the first 4-legged animals that crawled onto land. But then, as you move up through the geological layers toward the present day, the fossils just stop. Right at the end of the Cretaceous period, 66 million years ago, the coelacanth vanished from the record. Scientists assumed they were collateral damage in the Great Extinction. For generations of biology students, the coelacanth was a ghost, a relic of a world we would never see. But Marjorie Courtenay-Latimer, a young museum curator in South Africa, wasn't ready to let this strange fish go unnoticed. When Captain Goosen called her to the docks that day, she knew she was looking at something special, even if she couldn't quite name it. She hauled the heavy, oily fish back to the museum in a taxi and began a frantic search through her reference books. When she found a sketch of a prehistoric coelacanth, the resemblance was so striking she couldn't believe it. She sent a letter and a crude drawing to J.L.B. Smith, the leading ichthyologist in the country. His response was legendary. He famously said that he wouldn't have been more surprised if he had seen a dinosaur walking down the street. The discovery sparked a global media frenzy. It was the biological equivalent of finding a living Neanderthal in a modern city, but the mystery only deepened from there. Where had they been hiding for 66 million years? Why hadn't we found a single fossil from the last 60 million years? And how did they survive the asteroid impact that ended the Age of Giants? It took another 14 years of searching before a second specimen was found, this time near the Comoros Islands. This proved that the first fish wasn't a freak occurrence or a lone survivor. There was a whole population of them, living and breathing in the dark canyons of the deep sea. What scientists found when they finally began to study the coelacanth was even more bizarre than its history. This isn't just a fish, it's an evolutionary time capsule. The most striking feature is its fins. Unlike a goldfish or a tuna, whose fins are made of delicate rays of bone and skin, the coelacanth has lobed fins. These are thick, muscular structures supported by bones that are eerily similar to our own shoulders and hips. In fact, watching a coelacanth swim is a surreal experience. They don't wag their tails to move. They move their lobed fins in a synchronized, alternating pattern, almost exactly like a horse trotting or a human walking. They are essentially walking through the water. But the weirdness doesn't stop at the fins. The coelacanth has an organ in its snout called an electroreceptive rostral organ. It's a jelly-filled cavity that allows them to detect tiny electrical impulses from the muscles of prey hiding in the dark. It's like having a built-in metal detector for life. They also have a hinged skull. The coelacanth is the only living animal that has a functional joint in the middle of its head, allowing it to hinge the upper part of its skull upward to open its mouth wider and suck in prey with massive force. Perhaps the most mind-blowing discovery regarding their biology is their longevity. For a long time, scientists thought these fish lived for maybe 20 years. But recent studies using advanced light microscopy on their scales have revealed a shocking truth. These creatures can live for over 100 years. They grow incredibly slowly and don't even reach reproductive maturity until they are around 50 years old. And their pregnancies? A coelacanth mother carries her young for 5 years. That is the longest gestation period of any vertebrate on the planet, even longer than an elephant or a deep-sea shark. They are playing the long game of survival, moving at a glacial pace in a world where time seems to stand still. The question of why they haven't changed in millions of years is what fascinates geneticists. When researchers mapped the coelacanth's genome, they found that its DNA is evolving at an incredibly slow rate. It is one of the most stable genomes ever recorded. This suggests that the environment they inhabit, those deep volcanic caves 500 feet below the surface, is so stable and has changed so little over millions of years that the coelacanth simply hasn't had the pressure to adapt or evolve further. They found a perfect niche 66 million years ago, and they've stayed there ever since, watching the rest of the world change around them. The discovery of the coelacanth changed the missing link narrative significantly. While they aren't our direct ancestors, they are the closest living relatives to the fish that did eventually crawl onto land. They are our evolutionary cousins, a surviving branch of the family tree that decided to stay in the water while our branch headed for the trees. By studying them, we are looking at the basic blueprint of every land vertebrate, including ourselves. We are looking at the origin of the tetrapod limb, the basic structure that would eventually become the arms and legs of everything from lizards to lions to humans. In the decades since that first discovery, more populations have been found. In 1997, a researcher on his honeymoon in Indonesia spotted a coelacanth in a fish market. This led to the discovery of a second species, the Indonesian coelacanth, which is brown instead of blue. This find was just as shocking as the first because it proved that these living fossils were much more widespread than we thought. They weren't just a local fluke in South Africa. They were a global presence, successfully hiding in the deep, rocky cracks of the ocean floor across thousands of miles. The coelacanth's survival is a masterclass in staying out of the way. They live in twilight zones, depths where there is very little light and not much competition for food. They spend their days huddled together in underwater caves, conserving energy, and come out at night to hunt. They are low-energy specialists. In a world that prizes speed and aggression, the coelacanth has survived for hundreds of millions of years by being slow, steady, and practically invisible. It's a strategy that has outlasted some of the most powerful predators to ever exist. But why didn't we find any fossils for 66 million years? This is what scientists call a Lazarus taxon, a group that disappears from the fossil record only to reappear later. The reason for the coelacanth's long absence in the rocks is likely due to their habitat. Fossils are usually formed in shallow, silty areas like bays or river deltas, where sediment can quickly cover a body. The coelacanth lives in deep-sea volcanic caves and rocky slopes, places where sediment doesn't accumulate and where the geology is constantly being recycled by plate tectonics. The gap in the fossil record wasn't an extinction. It was just a relocation to a place where fossilization doesn't happen. This realization has forced paleontologists to rethink how they characterize extinct species. If a creature as large and distinctive as a coelacanth can hide for 60 million years, what else is down there? The discovery of the coelacanth provided a massive boost to the field of cryptozoology, making the search for other extinct creatures seem less like a fantasy and more like a legitimate scientific frontier. It opened our eyes to the fact that the ocean is so vast and so poorly explored that we might be missing entire chapters of life's history. The coelacanth also taught us about the resilience of life during mass extinction events. During the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, the surface of the Earth was a chaotic mess of fire, soot, and acid rain. But 500 feet beneath the waves, in the cool, dark volcanic caves of the Indian Ocean, the coelacanth probably barely noticed. Their deep-sea refuge acted as a biological bunker, shielding them from the calamities happening at the surface. It shows us that in the event of a global catastrophe, the twilight zones of the ocean are the ultimate safety nets for biodiversity. Modern technology has allowed us to interact with these legends in their own home. Deep-sea submersibles and remotely operated vehicles have captured incredible footage of coelacanths in the wild. They don't behave like typical fish. They have been seen doing headstands, hovering vertically in the water column for minutes at a time, presumably using their electrical sensors to scan the seafloor for a snack. They are remarkably calm, often ignoring the bright lights and mechanical arms of the submersibles, as if they've seen it all before. And in a way, they have. The coelacanth is also a reminder of the fragility of these ancient lineages. While they have survived for millions of years, they are now facing a threat they've never encountered: industrial fishing. Large deep-sea trawlers can accidentally pull them up as bycatch, and because they grow and reproduce so slowly, Even a small loss can have a huge impact on their population. Conservation efforts are now in place in South Africa and Indonesia to protect their habitats and ensure that this living fossil doesn't actually go extinct on our watch. For viewers interested in recent scientific discoveries, the most exciting stuff is happening right now in the world of coelacanth genetics. By comparing the DNA of the African and Indonesian species, scientists are working out exactly when these two groups split. It turns out they haven't shared an ancestor for millions of years, yet they look almost identical. This is stasis in action. It challenges the standard view that species must constantly change to survive. In the right environment, good enough is better than new and improved. The coelacanth scales are another marvel of ancient engineering. They are called cosmoid scales, and they are much harder and more complex than the scales on modern fish. They are made of multiple layers of bone-like material and a dentine-like substance called cosmine. It's essentially a suit of flexible chainmail. This armor protected them from the sharp rocks of their caves and the bites of prehistoric predators. It's a design that hasn't needed an upgrade in 100 million years. The discovery of the coelacanth also had a profound impact on the philosophy of science. It served as a humbling reminder that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because we haven't found a fossil doesn't mean the creature isn't there. It encouraged scientists to be more humble in their assertions about what is and isn't possible in nature. It taught us to expect the unexpected and to keep looking into the dark corners of our planet. There is something deeply poetic about the coelacanth's story. It is a creature that has seen the continents drift apart, seen the rise and fall of the dinosaurs, seen the ice ages come and go, and seen the first humans walk out of the forest. And through all of that, it has remained exactly itself. It is a silent witness to the history of the world, carrying on its slow, walking, swimming dance in the deep, dark canyons. It's a reminder that the world is much older and more enduring than our brief human history. As we look toward the future of deep-sea exploration, the coelacanth remains a primary target for research. We want to know more about their 5-year pregnancies. We want to know how they can live for a century without the typical signs of aging. We want to know how their walking fins are wired into their brain. Every piece of information we gather from them is a piece of the puzzle of our own origins. They are the ultimate grand ancestors, still alive and ready to share their secrets. The discovery of a creature thought extinct for 66 million years isn't just a headline. It's a biological revolution. It's a reminder that the map of life is still being drawn. The coelacanth is the lighthouse of the deep sea, showing us that even in the most well-studied fields, there is still room for total earth-shaking surprise. They are living proof that the past is never truly gone as long as there is a place to hide. The next time you look out at the ocean, think about the twilight zones. Think about the volcanic caves and the slow-moving legends that inhabit them. The coelacanth is down there right now, moving its fins in that ancient, horse-like trot, perfectly content to stay exactly as it is. It has survived asteroids, ice ages, and the shifting of the Earth itself. It is the ultimate survivor, a shimmering blue miracle that proves that life, given half a chance, will find a way to endure forever. Scientists are now using the coelacanth to study the effects of deep-sea pressure on cell structure. How does a creature with such a complex skeleton survive at depths that would crush a car? They are finding unique proteins in their blood and specialized structures in their cells that keep them stable. These discoveries could have applications in medicine and materials science, showing once again that ancient life has a lot to teach modern technology. The Indonesian population specifically is giving us clues about how plate tectonics affects biodiversity. The fact that the same kind of fish is found in two places thousands of miles apart helps geologists reconstruct the ancient pathways of the ocean. The coelacanth is a biological compass, helping us map the world as it was millions of years ago. Their history is tied to the history of the Earth's crust itself. One of the most touching aspects of the coelacanth story is the dedication of the people who study them. From Marjorie Courtney Latimer's quick thinking in 1938 to the modern divers who risk their lives to photograph them in deep underwater caves, there is a shared passion for protecting this piece of history. They understand that to lose the coelacanth now, after it has survived 66 million years on its own, would be a tragedy of epic proportions. As we conclude our look at this amazing creature, remember that the coelacanth is more than just a fish. It is a symbol of the unknown. It is the answer to the question of what else might be out there. It's a reminder that we are still explorers and that the age of discovery is far from over. The ocean is calling, and it's full of extinct things just waiting to be found. The coelacanth's iridescent blue scales might have been meant for camouflage in the deep, But to us, they are a beacon. They highlight the resilience of nature and the incredible story of evolution, from the armor-plated fossils of the Devonian to the living, breathing curiosity in the Comoros. The coelacanth is the thread that ties the history of our planet together. For the scientific community, the coelacanth is the gift that keeps on giving. Whether it's through the study of their hinged heads or their super slow DNA, they continue to provide data that challenges our assumptions. They are the ultimate rebuttal to anyone who thinks we have the world all figured out. There is always a deeper cave, a darker canyon, and a more ancient secret waiting to be uncovered. So, let's keep the cameras rolling and the submersibles diving. Let's keep searching the twilight zones and the miracle bays. Because if the coelacanth can hide for 66 million years, imagine what's going to turn up tomorrow. The living fossil is just the beginning of the story, and the deep sea is the greatest library on Earth, waiting for us to read the next page. The story of the creature found alive after 66 million years is a story of hope. It's a story of survival against all odds. And it's a story that tells us that no matter how much the world changes, some things remain constant. The coelacanth is home, and its stay, a shimmering blue reminder that some legends are very, very real. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of one of biology's greatest triumphs. The coelacanth is a testament to the wonder of our world and the persistence of life. As we continue to uncover the recent scientific discoveries that define our age, let the coelacanth be a reminder to always keep an open mind and a watchful eye on the deep. Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and keep exploring the amazing secrets of our planet's past and present. The coelacanth is swimming right now, somewhere in the dark, moving with that ancient rhythmic trot. It's been doing it since the days of the T-Rex, and it'll probably be doing it long after we're gone. And that in itself is the most unbelievable scientific discovery of all. The past isn't behind us, it's beneath us, shimmering in the blue.